Good morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM Today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Saturday, 26th April 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. China faces a complex trade landscape as officials deny ongoing tariff negotiations with the U.S., despite claims from President Trump. China is reportedly weighing tariff exemptions on certain U.S. imports critical for supply chains and not considered American for tariff purposes. These reports have boosted stock markets, with the S&P 500 rising 4.6%. Meanwhile, China has criticized the U.S. for its recent abuse of tariffs, while Trump seeks concessions. President Xi Jinping is promoting self-sufficiency in AI development amidst rivalry with the U.S. GSMA projects 5G and AI could drive $2 trillion in GDP growth in China by 2030. Didi is expanding its ride-hailing services into Hong Kong. Leapmotor, a Chinese EV startup, will supply its EV platform to state-owned luxury car maker Hongqi for a new EV model. Chinese solar panel producers are facing challenges as the U.S. seeks to close loopholes used to evade tariffs by exporting from offshore factories. CTN has discussed economic policy tools and the recent CPC leadership meeting in China. Shifting focus to Ather Energy, CEO Tarun Mehta has stated that the EV maker is largely unaffected by China's export restrictions on rare earth magnets ahead of Ather's IPO. Finally, Dalton Venture, a venture capital firm focused on life sciences in China, is expanding its operations to Hong Kong and planning new investments with a potential fund ranging from $103 million to $129 to $129. India's economic activity is showing both gains and losses across sectors. Reliance Industries has reported strong Q4 figures, becoming the first Indian company to exceed Rs 10 lakh crore in net worth and announcing a dividend of Rs 5.5. The IT sector is also performing well, pushing India's stock market to its best close for 2025. In contrast, India Cements has announced a net loss of 14.6 crore for Q4, with a 4% decrease in revenue year over year. Brewed, a fintech company, has secured $4 million in seed funding to develop daily savings solutions for self-employed individuals. Tata Consultancy Services, a leading Indian tech firm, is expanding its operations in New Zealand. Anandrati's Mehul Kothari is recommending the purchase of Bandhan Bank and Gale India shares, all priced under Yoti 200. Airline surge pricing has been reported following the terror attack in Pahalgam. Craig Moffett of Moffett Nathanson doubts that Apple will shift all U.S. iPhone assembly to India. Bat Mullah, an American entrepreneur, has successfully established 103 Southern California-style burrito restaurants in India, after relocating there 13 years prior. Furthermore, India and Saudi Arabia have established a strategic partnership. Global markets are reacting to uncertain trade negotiations between the United States and China, impacting oil prices and investor sentiment. Brent crude is trading near $66 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate WTI oil saw a 3% decrease over 5 days. J.P. Morgan's survey points to a potentially weakening dollar and possible stagflation in the United States. The dollar is on track for its first weekly gain since March, driven by perceived easing of US-China trade tensions. The S&P 500 has risen for 4 straight days, gaining 4% this week. The United States and China's trade relationship continues to be a source of global market volatility. Conflicting messages from both countries concerning trade talks are swaying investor confidence. Bill Ackman believes time favors the U.S. in the trade dispute, while harming China. Donald Trump Jr. is urging Eastern European countries to favor business with the U.S. over China. Consumer sentiment in the United States has fallen amid the ongoing trade war initiated by the Trump administration. Apple plans to move a substantial portion of its iPhone production to India by 2026, mainly for the US market. Australia's Browns Dairy is looking for a new owner who is deeply invested in the business's future. United Kingdom's Finance Minister Rachel Reeves met with US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to discuss a possible trade agreement, highlighting the importance of the UK's relationship with the European Union. The FTSE 100, reflecting the market capitalization of the top 100 companies on the London Stock Exchange, is enjoying its longest winning streak since 2019 and its best performance in 8 years. Amidst ongoing tensions, former U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Zelenskyy met in Vatican City to seek avenues for resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Trump voiced his support for high-level talks between the two nations, expressing optimism that they are close to reaching a resolution. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the end of Ukraine's incursion into Kursk, claiming all Ukrainian troops were driven out. The Kremlin further accused Ukraine of a car bombing that killed a general near Moscow. Ukraine, however, denied Putin's claim that Russian forces have regained control of Kursk. Meanwhile, Ukraine is facing major disruptions to its banking and online infrastructure. Russia has reportedly regained full control of the Kursk border region from Ukraine, according to President Putin. In a separate incident, a senior Russian military officer, General Yaroslav Moskalyk, was killed in a car bomb explosion near Moscow. The Kremlin has suggested Kyiv was responsible. Diplomatic relations saw the U.S. holding talks with Russia, which Moscow described as quite useful, evidenced by Putin's warm reception of the U.S. envoy. Simultaneously, the U.S. is reportedly considering post-war joint business ventures with Russia in the energy and metals sectors. Saudi Arabia is witnessing strong progress in its Vision 2030 plan. The Saudi Public Investment Fund, PIF, has seen its assets triple, marking a 390% increase since 2016. The PF's 2030 target has subsequently been raised. TotalEnergies and Zahid Group are collaborating with Golden Chicken to develop a 5.18 MWP solar power plant. During a recent visit, Indian PM Modi hailed Saudi Arabia as a force of positivity and stability. The country, alongside the IMF and World Bank, is stressing the need for international dedication to Syria's economic recovery. A Saudi minister specifically commended the IMF and World Bank for their support. Furthermore, Saudi Arabia is significantly increasing its investments in South Africa, leading to multi-billion-dollar agreements. Prince Al-Walid is reportedly planning future investments involving Elon Musk. Global markets experienced turbulence as the U.S. initiated global tariffs, causing initial drops in European and US markets. Yet, European shares soon recovered, climbing to a 3-week high as trade tensions between the U.S. and China showed signs of easing. This optimism propelled European stocks to significant gains as the week closed. The ripple effects of the U.S.-China trade conflict are also being felt by European luxury brands, especially with increased visibility of China's own manufacturing prowess. Adding to the continent's complexities, European universities are grappling with the challenge of upholding neutrality in the face of persistent political unrest. Asian markets are up following Wall Street's positive performance. The perception of tariff threats has evolved. They no longer trigger the same manufacturing shifts seen in the 1970s. European stock markets similarly reflect the positive momentum. Automakers are less reactive to tariff threats now. Production shifts to avoid tariffs are less common than in previous decades. Iran and the United States have commenced expert-level discussions in Oman, focusing on Tehran's accelerating nuclear program. Simultaneously, Iran's oil minister is in Moscow, engaging in talks with Russia to enhance trade and gas cooperation between the two nations. Following a deadly attack in Pahalgam, Iran has called for dialogue between India, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, referring to them as brotherly neighbors. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSM, a key holding in billionaire Steve Cohen's portfolio with promising growth prospects, is central to ongoing US initiatives. Simultaneously, an executive at Taiwan's Largan Precision faces scrutiny amid an ongoing investigation. In related news, Taiwan's defense forces identified 8 Chinese naval ships active in the waters surrounding the island. Canada's economy is facing headwinds, with projections indicating it may be nearing a recession. Adding to the economic concerns, former Bank of England and Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has strongly criticized Israel's blockade on food aid to Gaza, emphasizing the urgent need for the World Food Programme to operate freely in the region. Turning to South Africa, recent talks with Tanzania have resulted in the removal of restrictions on farm imports, fostering improved trade relations between the two nations. The South African rand is showing stability as investors await the release of details of the national budget. Across the Atlantic, in the United States, anxieties are surfacing among participants at the IMF and World Bank meetings about the potential erosion of the US dollar's status as a safe haven currency. Simultaneously, the United States and Malaysia have initiated discussions aimed at boosting trade between the two countries. Meanwhile, regarding Syria, a recent meeting highlighted the critical importance of reliable economic data for effective reconstruction efforts in the war-torn country. A collaborative effort is underway to rebuild Syria, with Qatar planning to join Saudi Arabia in settling Syria's World Bank debt. In Brazil, Carrefour Brazil has received the green light from its shareholders to delist from the B3 stock exchange, signaling a shift in its market strategy. The ports of Paraná are showcasing improvements in efficiency, modernization, and overall development. Shifting to Singapore, the nation is encountering challenges that will test the abilities of its younger generation of lawmakers. Despite these challenges, Singapore has been recognized as the 4th most crypto-friendly city globally. Looking at the broader Asian landscape, South Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, and Hong Kong are collectively fueling the rise of Asia's crypto presence and contributing to global innovation in the cryptocurrency sector. In Vatican City in Italy, world leaders and Catholic worshippers gathered to commemorate Pope Francis's funeral, honoring his legacy as the Pope of the people, with former U.S. President Donald Trump in attendance. In Bangladesh, the government is undertaking a restructuring of its tax system and intends to split the Revenue Authority through a new ordinance. Focusing on Kenya, Metropolitan International Holdings is currently involved in a legal battle concerning alleged fraudulent share transactions. In Pakistan, the finance chief is urging for the swift disbursement of funds from the Climate Loss and Damage Fund. Meanwhile, Israel has decided to maintain current interest rates while simultaneously lowering its economic growth forecast for the year. In Nigeria, UBA, United Bank for Africa, is planning to raise additional capital and is expanding its operations by establishing a new unit in France. In Finland, the president is taking a hands-on approach by participating in the training of conscripts. Discussions are ongoing between Sudan and Mauritania regarding potential financial support from the IMF. Lastly, in the financial markets, Morgan Stanley is reassuring investors that fears of an AI slowdown on Wall Street are unfounded. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.